All right, ladies and gentlemen. Another strange scenario coming from the Clinton camp. Hillary Clinton says that unborn children do not have constitutional rights in an interview with Chuck Todd on NBC's Meet the Press, airing on Sunday, meaning today. Clinton said that while it doesn't mean that you don't do everything possible to try to fulfill your obligations to help the unborn person, does not include sacrificing the woman's right to make decisions. In other words, babies are fodder, folks. To Clinton. Todd asked Clinton if an unborn child has constitutional rights, and Clinton replied, "Well, under our laws, that is not something that exists. The unborn person doesn't have constitutional rights." That's bullshit. That is absolute bullshit. Clinton replied, "Under our laws, it's not something that exists. The unborn person doesn't have constitutional rights." So this actually happened, folks. This came from an NBC meeting. Now we know that she was, or at least supposedly was, a mother, which means she actually produced a baby. And that baby is now supposedly having a baby. So it's safe to assume, at least with reasonable suspicion, during her pregnancy, she did at least most of the things right, so that Chelsea did not have any of the issues thereof relating to alcoholism. We know she's a drinker and various other things. And I ask you, she's a mother and she's a grandmother. How can she believe this? This is the statist perspective of things, folks. Under our laws, this does not exist. That is absolute bullshit. Under our laws, you can say one thing versus another. You can say they either do or do not have rights. Now, I think what she should have rebutted with is that although we don't say that they have constitutional rights, the human right is implied, but she would not probably go to that level, and I definitely would have. Every being on this planet, including a blade of grass, has natural rights. I would count them as human rights because that's what we understand them more of as. And from those natural rights come the human rights, which come the organized rights by the Creator, and ensue even if there is no legislation bound to our country, that even that blade of grass has rights, folks. Now, I know that you don't want to believe that a blade of grass is equal to a human being, but in some transition, ladies and gentlemen, a human being and a blade of grass, at one point or another, are doing the exact same thing. Sitting in one spot growing. And for her to basically say that babies do not have constitutional rights, she might have been dictating law, but in no way, in no shape, and in no form is this at all true. Even the United Nations Doctrine of Human Rights, I forget which article it is, but it basically sums up what article, I forget the constitutional one, basically says that all beings are endowed by their Creator to have equal rights. All beings, I think that's basically the formula or saying of it. And by that slogan alone, whether it is outside of the womb or inside the womb, it's mirrored as equal. Now, what do I believe? Well, I believe it has organs that we can recognize as organs. Yes, it has it has personhood. I believe when it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 cell organism, it has way less rights. Like, I would be in favor of growing meat without the animal. The United Kingdom have restaurants that serve burgers like that, where they basically grow the muscle of the animal in a lab vat, and they serve the meat like that. Now, do those cells have rights to have every cell become that animal and live among, the prairies and stuff? Absolutely. But you would stop it short of conception, and you would grow the muscles. And that would be that. And that would kind of be similar to what she's saying. But, again, two different turnouts. I believe all babies have natural rights from their creator. If the baby's coming to term, folks, natural rights are natural rights. That's why I don't go on Constitution binges like some of these guys. I heard one time, I thought for certain if I watched the video that I would have SWAT teams showing up at my house just listening to this guy go off about constitutional rights. And it's funny because I've done that video on America 2.0 documentaries following the title of 1213 all the way up to 1789 and the U.S. Corp founding thereof, and it relating back to US UCC 88243, where it shows on written paper in current form, I think the last interpretation of it was 2011, that the Vatican and the London Crown, or Crown Country, whatever heck however you want to interpret it, actually owns the United States as a corporation via Washington, D.C. Corp. From there via, I forget where it is and everything else, but this is legal precedent that is on the books, folks. But it basically goes back to the same founding that Hillary Clinton says that unborn children do not have rights, or do not have constitutional rights. And I think her understanding, her interpretation was very misleading and probably very almost illegal. Sorry, that was my cat. She's over here. I think she's getting to be in heat or something. Anyways, so for her to say that babies don't have constitutional rights is kind of not right, because under the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights, all beings are endowed by their creator. I think it actually says, or something similar to that. So if that's actually true, and our Constitution follows at least 50% of what the UN Declaration of Human Rights says, then she is absolutely in the wrong. But she's talking about U.S. constitutional rights for whatever reason. So it's going to be interesting to see. But she was very wrong in saying it like this, and I think it comes out what she really believes and how she really believes what humans are to the state, to the corporation, and to all the organizations and agencies thereof. We are agricultural equipment, folks. And I think that's the way she actually sees it. I know she looks like she's, not faring well and probably losing sleep and everything, but I believe in my bones that what Obama did to this country, she will do worse in her first hour. I absolutely believe that.